People are eating borax, and we need to talk about it. Hi folks, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Kat. I'm a licensed registered dietitian nutritionist, and on this channel we like to talk about weight inclusive, weight neutral focused approaches to health, as well as diving into scammy and, in my opinion, unethical nutrition related businesses, products, mostly nutrition related MLMs, and other fear mongering nutrition claims. I've had a few viewers reach out to me, several of them this past week, asking if I was going to make a video or talk about borax, asking to cover this bizarre trend that is apparently going on TikTok. Now, I do have a TikTok. I don't use it to make content really, and I do that intentionally. I have curated my TikTok to show me like lots of videos of cats and 90s and like 2000s nostalgia kind of things, Reddit stories, home designs, basically nothing that has to do with nutrition, with health, with fitness. It's just a place for me to get away from what I do like on a daily basis. So I had no idea that this health trend was going on, that people were consuming borax. So I have no idea how long this trend has been going on, but it's going on. As I was gathering my information for this video, I found a couple of different implementations that people are doing with this specifically. So some people are just drinking the borax with water by itself. Other people are adding it to their coffee, or they are mixing some kind of Celtic salt with it, with baking soda within the water and then drinking it. So there's some variation, but the main focus is on that borax. So in this video, we are going to discuss what borax is, some of the conspiracy surrounding why I think this trend resurfaced or surfaced, and a lot more. So if all that sounds good to you, let's go. So what is borax? Borax is a compound. It's a combination of boron, sodium, and oxygen. Now, boron is a trace mineral, and trace minerals are naturally occurring things. They are minerals that we don't need in larger amounts, like something like sodium or potassium, magnesium. It's needed in like a smaller amount. Now, you can find boron, the trace mineral, in a variety of places, mostly around these kind of dried up lakes where the water has evaporated and left behind minerals. Now, borax is different from boric acid. When you are consuming borax, that mixes with the hydrochloric acid that's a stomach acid, and that produces boric acid and sodium chloride. Now, borax is mostly used or mostly known as a household cleaner. It can also be found in some paints, some insecticides, herbicides, none of which are meant for human consumption. In fact, consuming borax can be dangerous. The consumption of borax that can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, kidney failure, and more. And even without consuming it, if you were to get that in your eyes or in your nose or in your throat, that can cause some irritation too. In fact, when you are cleaning with it, it is recommended to wear gloves and to use it in a well-ventilated area, and also to wash your hands thoroughly after using it. That is not something that you would see like recommendation-wise on something that is safe for human consumption. It's not made in a food grade facility or on a food grade product line. So one of my main concerns was if that is not made, if it's not meant for human consumption, like on the labeling or anything, what are the potential contaminants that might come into play from that product because it's not made to be consumed? And that can make the concerns around the product itself, it can add a whole nother layer of potential issues. Now, you might be asking why? Why are people deciding to consume borax? There has been some recommendations. So if you are someone who is experiencing arthritis or inflammation or osteoporosis, couple other things too, there are people who are recommending the consumption of borax to help with those conditions. This stems from something that I found called the borax conspiracy. Now, in 2012, there was an article. It was published in an Australian-based alternative news magazine that, per their website, includes in-depth articles on health, suppressed news, consciousness, ancient mysteries, future science, unexplained, free energy, and much more. The article was published by a regular contributor, a man named Walter Last. He is an author, a natural therapist, and nutritionist, which we know that is not a regulated term. Anyone can basically call themselves a nutritionist and Like, that's it. There's no standard of like education or practice for that term, typically for the term nutritionist. And what I found interesting when I was looking at this author's website is that in the about section, there is nothing that I really found about him and his credentials. So just take that as you will. So back to talking about the article. I actually had to subscribe to like an online library to get access to this document, but I read it through. Basically, the author, last name is Last, he describes how boron is that trace mineral. Now, as a side note, if you are deficient in any mineral, whether it's a trace mineral, which is a mineral needed in that smaller amount, or if it is a major mineral, you can have issues if there is a deficiency. Nutrient deficiencies are a real thing. And as a registered dietitian, one of the things that we learn about is how that variety of food is needed in order to reduce some of those deficiency concerns. And we're also taught to look for symptoms that might indicate any kind of deficiency, and then use that information for further recommendations of like plan of action or plan of care. Boron specifically, we know that it can work alongside other minerals like sodium, magnesium, phosphorus, and is thought to be involved in various roles within the body, including vitamin D uptake and calcium metabolism for bone formation support. The World Health Organization estimates that an acceptable safe range for boron intake for adults is 1 to 13 milligrams per day. Now, in the article, the author begins to share about how in the 1960s, there was a doctor of osteopathic medicine and a naturopathic doctor in Australia who developed arthritis. Now, he also realized that his intake of minerals were deficient, and so he decided to try supplementing with boron, and that ended up helping his symptoms. So he began to distribute boron tablets to clients, and like other people started to hear about it. And apparently he reached out to a drug company to market the tablets and kind of make it into a bigger operation. Then in 1981, per the article, the Australian government, quote, declared boron and its compounds to be poisons in any concentration. Now, there is no reference in the article to the actual statement made by the Australian government that they said, quote, declaring boron and its compounds to be poisons in any concentration, at least not one that I could find, but I did find that New South Wales government page says that borax is not permitted to be used in or as foods. Borax, remember, is not the same thing as boron. Boron is that trace mineral. Borax is not a trace mineral. It is a compound that, while it does contain boron, that is what is not permitted to be used in or as food because it's not safe. And while borax does contain boron, it contains it in excessive amounts above the World Health Organization acceptable safe range. Now, here is where my concern comes in. Well, actually, it was already in, but now even more so. There are very real health risks from excessive consumption of boron, of any nutrient, whether it is a vitamin or a mineral, water even. There is issues when you are consuming it in excessive amounts. Per the National Institutes of Health, boron toxicity can cause nausea, gastrointestinal discomfort, vomiting, diarrhea, skin flushing, rash, convulsions, depression, and vascular collapse, also headache, hypothermia, restlessness, weariness, renal injury, dermatitis, alopecia, and indigestion. All of that on top of the fact that borax is made not using food safe protocols, which again increases the risk for contamination or from contaminants being included in the box of borax that may cause more harm. Now, if somebody does have the concern that maybe they aren't getting enough or a sufficient amount of boron in their daily intake, there are various ways of approaching that don't require putting someone in that situation with potential dangers surrounding the consumption of something like borax. There are straight up just like boron supplements available, just as there are with any other kind of mineral. Now, remember, when a dietitian is working with deficiencies for like specific concern, a specific nutrient supplementation, that isn't something that's going to be like a long-term typically kind of thing. It's going to be used for a very specific reason for a specific amount of time. There is a plan of action around that, and then it is stopped. It's not like a long-term kind of thing typically. And on the other side, which is something that I would start with first, if there is a concern for deficiency, I'd want to encourage someone to prioritize the foods like apples and beans, avocados, peaches, which are all sources of boron, naturally occurring sources of boron. Interestingly, per the National Institutes of Health Office of Dietary Supplements, they say that coffee is one of the main sources of boron in America, just because of how much is consumed. I just thought that was interesting. But if you ate 1 apple and 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, you would be in the World Health Organization's acceptable amount of boron per day. Now, on that page, and I'll have that link down below, they say that in humans, boron deficiency signs and symptoms have not been firmly established, but that might include things like brain function by reducing mental alertness, maybe some impaired executive brain function. In addition, a low boron diet might elevate urinary calcium and magnesium excretion and lower serum concentrations of estrogen in postmenopausal women. They give some other examples of what might be like concerns, what might indicate there might be some boron deficiency. And I think that that is really helpful for a kind of website to be evidence-based and to provide health professionals with like, hey, these are signs and symptoms. So it's not saying that like there's no such thing as a boron deficiency, but at the same time, what is your dietary intake looking like? Are you getting the apple and the peanut butter? Like, are you getting like a sufficient amount per what the World Health Organization would recommend when it comes to daily intake of boron? And if you are consuming borax, which again, not meant for human consumption, the borax itself plus the actual processing of it, that is going to be an excessive amount, which can cause issues down the line. So just like with most nutrition misinformation, it seems like someone will take like a sliver of information and then create and do all of this mental gymnastics to create this kind of conspiracy theory that health professionals are trying to like hold back from helping people with a mineral deficiency, which is just not the case. And I'm just gonna say, like, this is why registered dietitians are a thing. Yes, not all health professionals are going to focus specifically on nutrition. Doctors typically don't get a lot of nutrition education in their schooling. They have so many different areas that they need to focus on. Like, that is okay in my opinion. That is why registered dietitians should be and are part of a whole healthcare team. This is also why I believe that more doctors need to be referring their patients to registered dietitians to help with that nutrient variety, that intake, and to screen for potential deficiencies. Now, some people might feel better if they initially start taking borax. Maybe they did have a potential like boron deficiency, but my concern is the method that they are addressing that potential deficiency with, i.e. eating borax, getting excessive amounts of that boron, and the borax itself not being fit for human consumption. At that point, it's essentially like intaking it willingly, you're poisoning yourself. Now, someone actually sent me a TikTok and I thought it was really concerning, interesting. I'll just play it.
I asked Barbara O'Neill what she thought about borax. My question was, what do you think about borax and people consuming it? And her response was short and sweet. She said it was a natural mineral and it would not hurt you. And that was it.
So if you aren't familiar with Barbara O'Neill, I'm going to reference Wikipedia. I don't let you know that this is not the best kind of reference, but what I do like about it is that it links to news articles that explains the claims that are in there. So I'm going to read it. Basically, Barbara O'Neill is an Australian naturopath and a lecturer on health issues who in 2019 was banned for life by the New South Wales Healthcare Complaints Commission from providing free or paid health services. The ban followed an HCCC investigation which found she lacked any health-related qualifications, a degree, diploma, or membership in an accredited health organization. It also found that she provided dangerous, unsupported health advice to vulnerable groups. This includes advising parents to feed their infants raw goat milk or almond milk blended with dates or banana instead of formula, and recommending that cancer patients forego chemotherapy in favor of baking soda wraps and dietary changes. That is not something who I would take any advice from, much less health nutrition related advice from. So that wraps up my concerns around currently, unless something else comes up, just some of the concerns that I have with this apparent borax trend. There are so many concerns. So is this something that I would ever recommend? No. If you are concerned about a deficiency, I would say maybe talk to a registered dietitian, look at that page by the National Institutes of Health, the Office of Dietary Supplements, looking at the information, seeing if like maybe this might merit some kind of focus on higher boron containing foods and kind of reassess from there with your dietitian. Don't go out and buy a box of borax and start eating that. No, don't do it. Let me know if you have seen this trend. Is this just something that I don't know how popular this is. This is just something that multiple people reached out to me about, and I don't know. So let me know if you have heard of this. Let me know your thoughts. I'm just tired of health trends, honestly. This is one of the reasons why I don't follow the health side of TikTok. The amount of misinformation that I have seen specifically on that app is exhausting. It's infuriating. I'm just gonna stick to cat TikTok. But if you have something that you would like for me to talk about, to dissect, to cover, let me know. Send that over and I'll probably have a lot to say about that. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, make sure that you're subscribed. And remember, you can strive for health without subscribing to diet culture or drinking borax. I'll see you later. Bye.